I think all black people have heard or know of or have even had it said to them by some white racist person, go back to Africa. Well, let me clue everyone in on a little something. There was an article came out in the St. Louis American, which is a black newspaper in St. Louis, my home city. Very renowned, very good paper. It's called Mapping DNA at Soldan. It's the St. Louis American, what is the date? May 15th through the 21st of 2008 edition of St. Louis American newspaper. It's called Mapping DNA, the article at Soldan. Surprises for students. Diversity is nothing but a curtain over the real truth that we are all one, concluded John Enos, a student who participated in the Discover Your Roots project at Soldan International High School. Enos is one of several ethnically diverse advanced placement and English language learner students who recently used their DNA samples to trace their ancestors' migratory routes from East Africa, the birthplace of the human species. It's been proven that all humans on the face of the earth, their ancestors come from Africa. So the next time a white person tells you, as a black person, to go back to Africa, tell them to go back too. So this is a very good program at this school. They basically helped all the students, various students, trace their DNA history, and they came up with very interesting results. They said we give them the human origin story, and that way they can understand that no matter what they find in their DNA, the only reason we have different characteristics is because of how our ancestors adapted to different environments, said Louis Harriet, also an artist, author and curator for the St. Louis Art Museum. So basically, everybody started out in Africa. As they went to different countries, they needed different physical characteristics to deal with the environments, so those developed over time. In Africa, the sun is very hot. You need protection for the sun. So black people have maintained the melanin in their skin to help protect them from the sun. As they went into places like Europe that were cold and not hot, and where the sun wasn't as much of a factor, melanin became less. There became less and less melanin in the body over time. So white people, who are our brothers and sisters, DNA wise, physically wise, they lost the melanin. Simple as that. They lost a lot of it. Very simple. Let me see what else is in this article. It says because we're all related, by blood, by ancestry, what happens in Darfur and Iraq affects us all. So we have to start helping one another economically, socially, and intellectually, and start seeing ourselves as a global society, not as black, not as white, not as yellow, red, brown, European, African, Asian, not all of this stuff, but as one global society. And that's why they had the project where they, tested the different students' DNA, and so that they could find out where their people came from. North St. Louis resident Brian Jackson, a senior at Soldan, said because some of his ancestors was victim of the transatlantic slave trade, he didn't know a lot about his ancestry before participating in the project. It gives me somewhere to start looking, said Jackson. He learned that after East Africa, his ancestors went through Nigeria and the Arabian Peninsula but ended up in Europe. That explains a lot of things, like why I have a lot of white people in my family photographs, Jackson said. So, yeah, some of you people that are real prejudiced, you would be just surprised at the relatives you got in your family that you might not know about. You know. So I think you really need to give up the hatefulness, because a lot of times you probably hate your own family members, and if you got the hated blood or hated blood of a black person, a white person, or whatever, somewhere in your history, you hate yourself. Isn't that kind of stupid? This Jackson said, I was willing to accept anything, but I didn't know my ancestors' migratory map included Europe. So he has to deal with the fact that he's part white. Dina Ha, a 12th grade Chinese Vietnamese student who lives in South St. Louis, said that science also made sense of the fact that all people originated in Africa. We're international students and we need to know more about our backgrounds, Ha said. Tyler McNeil, an African-American 11th grader, said he had tried to trace ancestral roots before but didn't turn up any results. It's very enlightening because before the project I had no idea where any of my ancestors came from, McNeil said. McNeil found that his ancestors went through Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq and ended up in Europe. It's quite a cocktail, huh? I'm glad that I have a diverse background because it makes us feel unique. I mean, I think it's good for people to know their history, their physical history, because sometimes you can feel like you're not special. You can feel like you're just like everybody else, and then if you do that type of thing, you find out, well, I got Iraqis in my family and whatever, and it could literally maybe change the hearts of some people towards, you know, their negative, prejudicial, racist attitudes or towards other people, to find out, yes, these people are my relatives, and I shouldn't be hating them. It's just wrong. So, you know, I wish everybody could get these DNA results, especially the bigots on YouTube and other sites. I wish they could find out, you know, and find out that they got some black people, or they got some white people, or they got the hated race or hated people in their family, and maybe have a chance to change their heart and change their minds, you know. Realizing that the way they feel is ridiculous. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense. So this study really blurs the lines of race and ethnicity because we all have a common ancestry. Maynard said, I'm thankful for IBM. Okay, but anyway, you get the gist of it. I mean, if you are a hateful person, if you hate people because of their race, you got to realize that there's only one race, and it's called the human race. So deal with it. You know, stop denying it. I've heard that, like, there's some Japanese that don't like black people, that don't like African Americans or black Africans, but they've known for the longest that Japanese definitely have African ancestors. Everybody do, but they really got it, because if you look at some Japanese names and if you compare them to African names, there isn't a whole lot of difference. If you don't believe me, look for yourself. Look at some of those Japanese names and compare them, and you will find out that there is definitely, the proof is in the names themselves, that Japanese have black blood in them. And someone might really hate that, but they need to deal with it. Everybody with racial hangups and prejudice, they need to deal with it. You know, because we're all the same. You know, we're all the same. We're all the same. We all come from the same place, East Africa. It's time to deal with that. It's time to let go of the hatred and stop fighting over the silliness, like the color of somebody's skin, their eyes. And by the way, as far as my own ancestry, obviously I'm African American. I'm also part Native American. I think the Native American, I'm part Choctaw Indian. That's what I think I am. Part Choctaw Native American. So that's why my eyes are like they are. And, you know, I'm glad to be different, not the same as everybody else. And I hope everybody else feels the same way. Whatever you are, you know, be glad that you are. And try to appreciate others that are different than you, rather than finding reasons to hate them. Because if you do, I guarantee you, you will have a much happier life. God bless you and keep you. Bye-bye.